Hi, Ange. Hope you're well. Just your thoughts there on that Champions League draw yesterday. I mean, what's a draw it turned out to be?
Yeah, look, I guess excited that we were in it. That's the first thing. You kind of, you want us, you want our football club to be amongst the big clubs of Europe, and a real sense of anticipation, excitement around the draw, and after it, you know that irrespective of sort of the teams you got, you've got a challenge before you, and I think from our perspective, really excited about what's ahead.
I know a lot of the players in the build-up were mentioning Real Madrid, but does it really get any better than the Galacticos back to Glasgow?
Yeah, I think there's that fixture in itself is a pretty special one, and it's a club we haven't played for a very long time, and I think for our supporters and everyone involved in the football club, it's an exciting opportunity to test ourselves against the reigning champions and a club that's steeped in the strongest of traditions in this competition. So great, exciting fixture, and I'm sure everyone's looking forward to it.
Gabriel?
Hi, Ange. Obviously, league duty up first, but it isn't far away. I think it's 11 days until your first game. Obviously, you got Real Madrid, other big teams in there, but initially, are you confident that you can pick up wins, pick up points, perhaps even get out the group?
Yeah, mate, we haven't played a game yet, so I think we'll just sort of address that as we go along, and once obviously the fixtures are confirmed, then we'll focus on that first game. As you said, we've got 3 games between now and then. Really important that we go into those games in good form and feeling good about ourselves. So, once we get through the next 3 games, hopefully we'll continue our strong form, and then we'll see who we got first up, and we'll tackle that. I mean, I think to start thinking beyond that is, that's not the level of competition where you try and sort of, have a look into the future and forecast what you can do. I think it's a kind of tournament where you'd better be focused on what the next opponent is, or else you won't get past that.
I just got to ask you about the new signing as well. Hacksabanovich has come in. What are your thoughts on him? Why was he one of the players that you wanted to bring to Glasgow?
Yeah, look, he's a good player. He's had really good experience for a relatively young age, both at club level, international level. Can fill a number of spots in our system, I think, and he's really sort of determined and ambitious to have a really strong career for himself. And I think from my perspective, it's always about, well, do I see the player fitting into the way we play? And I think he does. And the secondary is what kind of person and motivation do they have? And with Sayed, as soon as we sort of showed our interest, he was really keen to make the move happen. It wasn't the easiest of moves to sort of coordinate, but he was really determined to join our football club, which I thought, was a good sign for us because it means he's coming here for the right reasons. So, he's I think he'll be a good asset for us. As I said, adds to our depth in that front half of our team, and at 23 years of age, his best is definitely ahead of him.
Thanks. Tyrone?
And just going back to the draw, if I may, you mentioned the Real Madrid games as being particularly special. I know you've spoken in the past about the influence the great Mr. Puskas has had in your life and your career. I think you said he was one of the most significant influences on your career. Does it make it, just from a personal point of view, extra special and maybe a bit emotional, the fact that you're going to be going back there, or pitting your own wits against the team where he is held in such great esteem and was a real legend?
Look, I mean, I don't know about sort of extra significance. I think anyone involved in our game, when you get to sort of, compete against the best, and in this case, one of the most famous football clubs in the world who happen to be the current champions, I think anyone involved would say it's significant. Obviously, as you said, I was pretty fortunate and blessed to have Ferenc Puskas as my manager for 3 years, and I asked as many questions as I could about his whole Real Madrid experience, because they were such a fantastic team, not just in the time span of when he was playing. But, beyond that, they really established themselves as one of the world's greatest sides and the football they played. So, it's a shame he's not around to see it. I'm sure he would have taken great pride in seeing somebody he had a big influence over leading a side out against them. But I think for our whole football club, it's always, like I said, that's why we want to be playing at this level. We want to be in the Champions League is so that we can test ourselves against the best, and that's what we'll be doing.
And you mentioned you've got a number of important domestic games to deal with before we get into the Champions League games. I mean, rightly, there's so much attention on the draw. Is it going to be difficult from your point of view to tell your players forget about those big glamour games and just focus fully on the bread and butter of the domestic fixtures that are coming up before all that?
No, it won't be, because the players kind of understand that the reason we're in this position is because last year we won, we're champions of our league, and we've earned this right, and you've got to always respect the fact that if you're not performing at a certain level, irrespective of the competition, then no point looking ahead, because you'll either not play in that or struggle even if you do. So our boys have been really good and focused on our training this morning, and it was as competitive as always, because they know that we've got 3 important games before that, and there'll be games in between that, and the Champions League games, and there'll be no one here who's saving themselves for those fixtures. The environment just won't allow it. They've got to be at their best and training at their best, and they want to be at their best. The way to make sure that this experience of playing and measuring yourself against the best is fulfilling is to be at your best yourself, and you can't be at your best yourself if you haven't prepared yourself properly.
Thanks, Ronnie Estlin.
Hi, Ange. A hectic period of games now is coming up. Is this when the strength and depth of your squad will come to the fore?
Well, yeah, I hope so, Ronnie. I mean, that was the whole idea of sort of, our thinking around our recruiting strategy this window was to have a squad and players robust and strong enough to compete at every competition at a certain level. And so far, obviously, we've only had the game a week, and I haven't made too many changes to the starting lineup, but we've given some game time. But we've worked awfully hard at training to make sure that the group is ready for what's ahead. As you said, starting this week till the international break, we'll have 3 games a week, and then post the international break, same. So it's a lot of games, and we're going to need everyone in our squad to be playing at a good level and ready to compete. So that's the plan, and now it's about executing it.
Can I ask you what you think of the form of Dundee United, who are quite obviously struggling at the moment?
Yeah, as you said, they are struggling. It's the nature of football. If you had said a couple of weeks ago after they beat AZ at home that they'd be in this situation, but that's the nature of football. That's how quickly it can change, and that's how quickly it can change again. And I'm sure they're looking at our fixture on Sunday saying, well, if they want to turn around their fortunes, a strong performance against us is a good way to go about it. So we've got to be ready for that. We've got to ignore the fact that they're struggling and think that they're going to come out sort of weakened, and make sure that we're preparing, as we always do, for them to be at their best, to make it difficult. Last year we had challenge down there, particularly in the last away game when we had to win the league. They gave us a really strong game, and we know it's not going to be an easy fixture, and from our perspective it's important we just continue on our form.
Thanks, Ronnie. Cheryl.
Hi, Ange. The game against Real Madrid at Celtic Park, that'll be a big occasion, but where does managing against Madrid in the Bernabeu, where does that rank in your career?
I've never looked at it that way. I don't. All these kind of things. I keep saying the same to the players. You can experience these things, but usually you only remember them if it's a positive experience. So there's no point just. I'm not one who just says I've done this and I've done that. I mean, for me, it's more important that we go there and we have a positive experience. To do that, we've got to play some good football against the best, and that's when it becomes meaningful. Because, to be fair, you can pay for a tour of the Bernabeu. Anyone can do that. So as an experience, it's not that unique. What you want to do is make sure that when you have these opportunities, and that's what I've tried to do in my career, is I've often said to players, it's better to swap shirts with a player you admire after you've knocked them off and beaten them than just grabbing another shirt for your collection.
I was just asked you this week, a lot of your fellow managers have been talking about refereeing decisions and the introduction of VAR. Do you agree with this, the stance of the sooner the better it comes in? And what do you think about it coming in mid-season?
Yeah, look, as I said, I mean, I've had experience with VAR. Sort of, I had it in Japan. I've had it when I was national team boss. So we had it in Europe last year, even for us as a club. So I'm well versed in it, and I think it should be implemented in the Scottish game, because I think every league in the world will have it sooner rather than later. My view on that is the same as it's always been. If you think that refereeing decisions are that important that they change games, VAR ain't going to change your outlook. I've never worried about that stuff. I think even with VAR, there's going to be mistakes made. There's going to be things missed. Our football club and me in particular, I've never focused on that as, worrying, allowing that to judge our outcomes. If a decision goes against us, it goes against us. Our job is to get on with it, and it'll be the same with VAR. I think if people think that, I think the people who talk about refereeing decisions today will still be talking about them when VAR's around, and the ones who don't won't when VAR is around.
Thank you.
Sure. Claire?
Oh, hi, Ange. In the games you've played so far domestically, the teams consistently be finding solutions for teams that sit deeper in defence. In the upcoming derby in the Champions League, you're likely to face teams that are pressing a lot higher, more aggressively, giving you less time on the ball. Could you elaborate a bit on how you might prepare the team differently to face a different style that you might not face domestically?
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess that's always the challenge. I mean, it's not always the case either, Sometimes people assume, but, if you look at sort of our Champions League draw and even the Rangers game, they don't necessarily always come out and press aggressively. Some of them are set up as counter-attacking teams, so we've just got to be prepared for whatever happens. But we try and train every day, in a certain way that it gives the players different challenges, with respect to, our build-up play or our execution in the front third. Because as you said, there may be teams that press us more aggressively, that we don't really get pressed, so we work on that at training. But the opposite of that is that, we may get it, if teams press aggressively against us, we get an opportunity to maybe hit them on the counter-attack as well. And we've got some really, aggressive and dynamic forwards. So it's how we execute in the front third as well. So it works at both ends, and we try and work on that at training consistently. If we haven't been challenged in a certain way in a number of games, and our emphasis in training is on, if things change, how would we cope with that? So we're constantly working on those things.
Just one more about Hacksabanovich. With him recently signed, how quickly do you think you want him to be involved in the squad? Are you targeting specific games, or are you looking to sort of get him in and get him used to the system quickly?
Yeah, I think it's more about sort of getting him adjusted to sort of the physical levels we need, and he's sort of been training individually now. So from our perspective, he's really keen to get involved straight away. I mean, he trained with the group this morning, but we just got to be careful about when we introduce him, because the last thing we want is to put him in too early. But I think in terms of the game style, I don't think he'll have too much problem adapting. I mean, I've always tried to sort of recruit players who I see fitting into our system, and I think you've seen that in the past with guys. Sometimes we've just thrown them in and they adjust pretty quickly. So it's just a matter of the physical aspect now, is to see how he tracks over the next few weeks in terms of his fitness levels and how he copes with our training. And we'd like to put him into games as early as we can. He'd like to, but we just got to make sure it's the right time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And James. Hi, James.
Hello, Ange. When speaking to the media, Moritz Jens spoke on his aims to win the Champions League group, and Reo Hatate also spoke on how he wants to emulate Shinsuke Nakamura. How important do you think it will be to have such a confident and ambitious squad when playing against Europe's elite?
Yeah, look, again, it is important, but ultimately what's more important is, that you go in there with belief in your football and in yourself. And, from my perspective, we we never talk about outcomes here. For me, it's about performance. If we perform to the best of our ability, what it does, it gives us a chance to be successful. There's no point talking about winning things or accomplishing things without the performance first. And from my perspective, whether that's a Champions League or in the Premiership or in any of the cups, you got to bring that level of performance. And if you do bring that level of performance, all these other things will take their course. So, I think having real belief in something, and for us, the belief lies in our football. That's where hopefully our players get their confidence from, is that they believe that if we can play our football and play it to the best of our ability, it gives us a chance for success.
And you've been making strides for Australian coaching since you came to Celtic. Last season, you became the first Australian coach to win a Europa League match. This season, you become the first Aussie to manage in the Champions League. How does it make you feel to be breaking new ground for Australian coaches?
Yeah, look, it's not stuff that it's at the front end of my consciousness, but I realise, everything I do kind of has an impact beyond me personally. We all have sort of our own ambitions and what drives us, and certainly, from my perspective, I've built a career on trying to be as successful as I can wherever I've been, and I want that to continue for as long as I'm doing what I'm doing, because of that's what kind of drives me. But you realise you have a greater impact, and I guess from my perspective, obviously, because I've come from another country, it'll have a big impact in Australia. But I think it'll have a big impact here in Scotland and for this football club too. If we can have success in the biggest of competitions, I think you're always trying to lay down a marker, and all these other things sort of are byproducts of it.
Do you any injuries for tomorrow or injury worry?
For Sunday, no, not at this stage. Everyone's trained. I'm just trying to think from last week. Everyone got through last week. Okay, no issues out of it. And Gucci's back training with the group. Probably not this week, but he's back training with the group. So we haven't got anyone that's sort of missing at the moment.